You're muted, Luke.
Right,
Hello,
so
everyone. Welcome back to the False Nine podcast. It's just me, Charlie, and Luke today. As Connor has college or is just AFK. Anyway, since we missed a few game weeks, we were just stuck with assignments and stuff like that. In college, we're just going to do a Big Six roundup. I think for most of the teams in the Big Six, there's 10 games left. I know there's 10 games for Liverpool, so unfortunately, you have to watch 10 more games. But yeah, we're just going to do a Big Six roundup. We'll probably start with Liverpool to get my rant out of the way. To be honest with you, I think at this point, see, every loss that's came now, right? So 6 home losses in a row. Every loss that came, my kind of reaction was completely different. Like against Chelsea, I couldn't care less. I was like, what's the point? Yesterday, I was furious because we were with I was with Charlie and Luke when the team news came out. Like I was like, okay, we want changes, but why you throwing the game? And like you can't come up against any Premier League team. I don't care if it's Burnley, I don't care if it's Sheffield United, and field a team like that. Like it's number one, it's disrespectful. And number two, they're not the players you put on aren't good enough. Like I just think starting Nico Williams, Shaqiri, Reece Williams, you could start. It's I don't mind that. Who else? Milner. Like you're starting those 4 players. Like you're asking to lose. Like you and like Jota and Keita. I would have liked to see them brought in, but they're only back from injury. Like you can't rely on them then. And I think yesterday was just kind of summed up the whole thing. Like it just doesn't make sense. The whole thing is so hard to explain. I think at this point that we've thrown top 4 completely, which made for me, which is why I really didn't like the lineup because I feel if we get top 4, the owners have no excuse but to spend. Now, if we don't get top 4, they don't have to spend. Do you know what I mean? Like they can just go, look, we have a tough squad. It was a tough season. We'll go again with a full strength squad. And I'm just like, look, some of these players have to be moved on as well. Like Mane, I do agree. Firmino should be moved on. He should be our number 9 anymore. Like no, I love him. I love Mane too, but I love Firmino as probably my top 3 favorite Liverpool player. But like you're not going to get loads for him. And I think what he brings to the team potentially as squad depth will be more valuable than selling him for like 30 million. Like even if you might even not get that. Like so, I think if you sold Mane, you get a good bit, and then we'll see from there. But I was kind of thinking after the game, maybe I was overreacting, but so I gave it some time, and I still got to stand by the fact that I think Klopp at this point either walk or he should just, or he's up for the fight, which I'm struggling to see how, because the last couple of games just show that were just ridiculous decisions he made. And don't be wrong, I'm not calling for his head for anyone starts fucking crying. Okay, I'm not calling for his head. I want him to stay 100%. He's the only man I want in the job. But it comes to a point where it's like stuff's happening off the field. He just looks mentally worn out. And apparently, I didn't watch the interview because I didn't want to fucking listen to the same shit over and over again. Apparently, he looked very downbeat, like very like kind of unconsolable after that loss. So there's something not right with him. I completely stand by that. And to be honest with you, I just want to see something new, like even if it's a different system, because people were saying, I remember I was like, oh, what the fuck's this lineup? And people were telling me, oh yeah, no, it's we need to see changes. It can't get worse than this. And then it got worse. So yeah, I don't know. Luke, I'll bring you guys in. I've been literally ranting for about 5 minutes. Sorry, but Charlie, I will bring you in. Do you what like from an outsider's view? Obviously, you're a United fan. It's maybe slightly different. Like you're enjoying this clearly, but do you have any insight on what could potentially be wrong at the moment, or are you as just bewildered as most of us fans, Liverpool fans?
I think Roy Keane said they're not playing as a team, and I would probably agree with that. I think it's been pretty. I think there's a competition going on between Mane and Salah, and I don't think it's a healthy one either. I don't think they have the best relationship, to be honest. A couple of times, I'm not sure who it was, Sheffield United. Mane was blatantly fouled in the box by Keane Bryant, I think. Slide tackle.
Yeah.
Mane had to go down, but he didn't. And Michael Owen is saying he didn't go down because Salah would have been the one taking the penalty. And people are calling it ridiculous. I'm not so sure if it is ridiculous. I would actually agree with that.
Yeah.
I think he probably wants to be the one in the limelight, and he's never going to be that one with Salah because Salah's going to outscore him as long as he's the penalty taker. I also think your point about Klopp, he does look a bit drained. He's not feeding off the energy of fans because obviously they're not in the stadium. But I think some of his decisions have been pretty poor, and there doesn't seem to be any plan B. I mean, yesterday you were just whipping in crosses at two big centre backs, and I'm not sure who's actually in there to win it. Like, I know Mane has a decent spring on him, but I mean, he's not renowned for being lethal in the air. I mean, if you were going to do that, you should have just kept Benteke or something. Like, it's ridiculous.
On or something.
Like, you need if you want to play like that, you definitely need to bring in some sort of target man in the summer. I definitely think that. What else was I going to say? I think when you played Sheffield, the inverted fullback Trent came into midfield. You haven't done it since, but it worked very well. So I'm not sure why he hasn't tried something different. And the back line, this is what I was going to say. The back line that he put out yesterday, it wouldn't look at a place in the Championship, if we're being honest. Like, it's all of them. 3 of them should be out on loan. They shouldn't even be anywhere near the first team. They're not good enough. They probably never will be good enough. I think Phillips has had, or not. Is it Phillips or Williams? Not Phillips.
Phillips.
He's all right. The other two are woeful. And then Robertson looks like he's kind of being overplayed as well. He doesn't seem to believe in that Shimcast. I don't know how. He doesn't seem to believe in him at all.
That's what I was going to say. The inverted fullback thing worked, and I think, why is Robertson not being rested? Like, Trent is younger, number one, than Robertson. Hasn't played as much as Robertson this season because he got injured. So why is Robertson not getting rested in that game? Like, we bought a fullback. And, like, don't get me wrong, I think the injury are the origin of all this. Like, I fully believe that. Like, we wouldn't have been this bad about them. But there's no excuses not to play a backup left back. It's now fit. He's fit now. And rest a player who's probably played the second most minutes. I think only Wijnaldum played more in this season. So why? And then, like, Simicast is better than Nico Williams in terms of the overall team. Nico Williams is shite. I hate to say he's only young, but he's terrible. He's awful, really bad. So I think, I think I want to touch on spot on, to be honest with you. I think there is, like, that heat up. I think that was probably the start of all of it. Now, I do believe they were close before. They were close before. But I think with Salah getting all the limelight and stuff like that, and I think Mane's kind of got fed up with it. To ask you, like, why? Like, leave then. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Salah is better. Mane was, don't get me wrong, I love Mane. He was exceptional when he was unstoppable, actually, at times. He was. But he was known for beating his man. And now we can't even do that. So you're useless now. Like, you are so bad now. You can't control the ball. You can't shoot. He miskicked the ball twice. And people made this use, he's had COVID this year. Pogba wasn't playing well for that long. He had COVID. Pogba could control a football at United when he came back after COVID. He could control the football. So I think that's a bullshit excuse for Mane. And I do think this competition. Luke, before we move on, where do Liverpool go from here? Like, do you think they should just, at this point, just throw the league and just focus on the Champions League, or just do some radical change in the system or something?
I'm not sure if they've already thrown the league, to be honest. I mean, I think yesterday you were 4 points off the top 4. I don't see any point in starting a team as bad as you did. I think you were still in with a chance if you went on a good run of form. But now it just looks like there's too many teams between you and the top 4 to actually mount a challenge. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but it's looking unlikely at this point in time. So maybe Klopp goes all out for the Champions League, but I can't see it getting anywhere near it with the performances you've been putting in this season. So
Yeah.
it doesn't look great for Liverpool, to be honest. I think he does have to try and change something though, because this repetitive crossing doesn't seem to be working. Maybe play a 4-2-3-1 with Thiago and Fabinho in midfield or something. Try and change it up a little bit, because at the moment I think you have been found out and nothing seems to be changing, and every game seems to be going the same. You're just doing the same things and constantly losing. It's not great for you.
Yeah, I've good agree. It's a carbon copy every game. Like everyone saw that Fulham goal was coming and we weren't. And like at half time, I was like, we're not scoring. That's a game over, which is on it. Well, it's terrible. Like to be honest, it's just I can't believe it at this point. It used to be when we were 2-0 down or 3-0 down or whatever, we'd be able to believe we'd come back. And they're 1-0 down against Fulham. We're going to get relegated. At half time, I was like, we've lost the game. So it needs to change quick, or we're desperate. We're in trouble this season. Like we're in trouble, like going forward, and with a potential rebuild or whatever. But that's enough Liverpool for now. Moving on to United. I think building up to the Manchester derby, obviously, there've been a lot of nil-all draws, a lot of frustration amongst fans, and then all of a sudden you beat City and end their 21 winning game run. Charlie, starting with you, where that performance come from? And if you put it into context, like with the results you had leading up to it, it just United for me just don't make sense. Like how does he pull off these results, Ollie?
I'm really not sure where that came from at all, to be honest. I mean, we haven't got anything out of the Big Six all season apart from an FA Cup win against Liverpool. But that doesn't count for much with the form Liverpool were in. But I mean, it's weird because when I go into a game confident, such as like West Brom, Sheffield, surely we'll beat them. We don't. And then I went into yesterday going, right, anything less than 3-0 is a success. And we actually ended up winning. So, it just highlights our inconsistency, if we're being honest. And if people think, I don't think we can go for the title next season, because I still think the players we have they're just all inconsistent. I can't name a consistent performer in the team. Maybe Shaw this season. Henderson seems to be pretty consistent when he plays. I think he was good yesterday, but we're never going to actually be a serious team until we learn how to effectively break down a deep block. We also have to stop giving teams silly goals. I know we defended very well yesterday, to be fair, but I think the McFred pivot isn't good enough on the ball against the likes of Sheffield and West Brom. We need more creativity. Obviously, Pogba helps with that, but if he goes in the summer, where do we go from there? Like, he's irreplaceable. You could sign 2 or 3 players. They're not going to replace Pogba. Like, he's probably top 5 in the world in that position. So if he leaves, we could be in a sticky situation as to breaking down deep blocks again next season, and it could just be the same pattern of becoming like Arsene Wenger's Arsenal and just getting top 4 and over and becoming happy with the odd FA Cup win. And I don't think that's where we want to end up. So I think we'll see where we are in May. I'm hoping we'll be in the top 4, and I'm hoping we can either win the Europa League or the FA Cup. But next season, if we don't start like a serious challenge, and I don't actually think we will, but it's what needs to happen. If we don't start a serious challenge, then I think Ollie needs to look at himself, and so do the board.
Yeah, it's a way when we United, to be fair. Like, I think the consistency is the like kind of main problem with United. They can beat teams 3-4-0, and the next week they can lose. And I think there's 2 things to that. I think number one, I don't think some of those players are good enough to mount a title charge. I'm not going to name names. I just don't think some of them aren't good enough to be starting, and that's why you get inconsistent results. And also, I think when you guys were top the league, I looked at United and I was like, they don't believe they can win this. They're more in shock that they're where they are. And I think that's the main thing. I think that will come with winning something. 100% that belief you can go and win a title will come with winning a cup or something. And I think that's the two main problems in that. And I think what you said with the McFred pivot against lower blocks, Ollie has to play a defensive kind of two in midfield a lot of the time because he's compensating for the centre backs. He doesn't. I don't think he has confidence in your centre backs at all, and it's hurting you creatively going forward. And that's why you had those 0-0 draws. But yeah, but Luke, now since look, you've probably wrapped up second. Okay, you wrapped up top four. You most likely wrapped up second. Going to the last 10 games of the season, the title's probably gone. What do you want to see kind of from United? Would you like to see Martial obviously played well yesterday, so would you like to see him back starting? Would you like to see Ollie experiment with a few things? And also, is Pogba back? Will he be back?
He'll probably be back at some stage this month or maybe after the international break.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. So
looking forward to the rest of the season. There's really only one thing I'd like to see, and that's us winning a trophy and obviously finishing in the top four, because I just don't think 4 years without a trophy for a club like United is acceptable. Rebuild or not, our team is still good enough to win a trophy. I actually think it might have been better for Ollie if we had a knock City out of the FA Cup yesterday instead of it being in the league, because I can't see them giving away the FA Cup or the League Cup, so they could be looking at another domestic treble.
Yeah.
So that's not great for us. Us being their local rivals, we have to try and get a trophy for our team's confidence and for Ollie more than anything, because he needs to prove that he can win trophies with this club. I think looking at Martial, I think in games like this, he's always going to play well because he has space. Like City play an open game, he can drop between the lines. He's always going to have space. I think the trouble comes against deep blocks. So I think also with Martial, I feel like the penalty did a lot for him. After 30 seconds, he wins a penalty. He seems to just click in and go, oh, right, I'm actually good at football. I can actually take these on and commit people and actually start dribbling with the ball again, because he hasn't been doing it over the last few games. I don't think he had the space to do it in a few games, but that's not the point. He hasn't really been trying it. So I think with Martial, too many times something has to happen for him to actually go, right, I'm actually good. Because if you look at him last season, he was getting the ball and you could tell he was just like, right, no one else is scoring a goal, so I'm going to be the one to do it. And he was getting the ball and he was driving at people and committing them and actually being able to finish the ball, which he still hasn't been able to do this season. But he was brilliant yesterday, to give credit to him. So I'd like to see him get a run in the team and get some consistent good performances together, and hopefully he can regain his scoring form. I think we have a few injuries up front now. I don't know how long Rashford's out for. I don't know what happened to Cavani, but he's apparently injured again. So Greenwood, James and Martial will probably be our front three for the next few games. But assuming Cavani doesn't come back anytime soon, which he might, I don't know. So hopefully one of those three is going to have to hit some goal scoring form, because we can't just be relying on Bruno the whole time. And Martial and Greenwood's goal scoring records aren't great this season, so one of them has to catch form for us to actually have a good end to the season. I don't actually think second place is nailed down. If you look at Leicester's fixtures, if you look at Chelsea's fixtures, I think they are easier than ours, although sometimes we seem to do better against the likes of the West Hams and the Leicesters and the Southamptons, because they don't come and completely park the bus. They actually try and play football a bit so we can open them up a little bit. I think it's the deep blocks we really struggle against, and it's so frustrating watching us against them. I think something has to change with the deep blocks, because like if you look at it, if we beat Crystal Palace home and away and we beat Sheffield United, we're 1 point off Man City and we'd be in a serious title charge. So like something has to change there, because that's not good enough, losing to that caliber of opponent or drawing even.
I agree. I think it's frustrating you're not close to City. Maybe I'm not saying like you said 1 point, but just a little bit close to you're still in it. And then obviously winning the trophy will be huge, like I said, and it'll give you that confidence and belief that you can go and win more. But moving on to Actually, since we were talking about the game yesterday, I want to move on to City. The City obviously won the league's wrapped up. League Cup final they're in. They're in the League Cup final against Tottenham, I think, and then FA Cup they look likely to win. But one thing I want to touch on City is we know they're great, fantastic. I think we're slightly overrating them. Slightly, I think they haven't really had much competition this year at all. A United team that doesn't seem ready are obviously us. We've been shit. So a game like yesterday, and I saw a few tweets about this the reason why City won't win and won't win the Champions League. And I kind of agree. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just against United, they just seem to come unstuck. Because Ollie's won now. I think he's won 4 against them, 4 games against them, and he's obviously a positive record against Pep. But I just feel in games like that, City just become. I don't know what happens. It's just they've just become mentally kind of stuck, and they just hit a roadblock, and they just can't really seem to get over it. And I think they probably are favourites for the Champions League, of course, but it just seems like they're missing something. I don't know what it is. In terms of Champions League, they've obviously won the league, but they just seem to be missing something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's prolific striker, because I looked at that United team, United probably suits City to play against. They come out, United like to play, and they would be able to target the obvious weaknesses you have, and they just couldn't do it. Maybe that's an Ollie masterclass. Maybe we're underrating Ollie. But Charlie, on City, look, they had that great run. They won the title. But do you think they can win the Champions League this year? Or will they just be the same old like it is every year?
I think they have the ability to do it, but I think you've mentioned this a lot of times. It's what Pep does, because he's overthinking it, and I won't have anyone tell me anything different. Because if you look at that, Jesus and Sterling, Sterling's played 22 times against United now and hasn't scored. Jesus has never scored against United either. They shouldn't be playing that game. I think Foden should have played, because Wan-Bissaka has Sterling in his pocket every single time he plays him. So if you put Foden up against him, movement, he's going to come inside. Wan-Bissaka is not going to want to go there. Wan-Bissaka's positioning is woeful. He can't slide tackle Foden if he's not out on the wing 1v1 against him. I think Foden should have definitely played. I think Mahrez should have operated on the right, which he did. I think Foden and Mahrez should have been the wingers he went with there, not Sterling. I would have left Sterling out on the bench. I wouldn't even have put him on the pitch, because he misses far too many chances. It's every game he plays us now, he misses very easy opportunities, and you wonder how City fans put up one. Gabriel Jesus, dreadful. You can't tell me he's City quality. I don't think he'd start for Everton. I'm being I have no idea how he's got there, but it's blatantly obvious that he's not good enough. He's not good on the ball. His dribbling, not great. His finishing, he needs about 3 chances to score, for being honest. If you just compare the 2 strikers that game, you can see why United won, because Martial completely dominated the so-called best defensive partnership in the league, and Gabriel Jesus was completely anonymous. I think also John Stones, we've been giving him praise. He's still lackluster defensively, as we saw yesterday. Cancelo as well, he got hooked. Obviously, I've been one praising him a lot, but he didn't cover himself in glory yesterday, and I think Pep will definitely be going with Kyle Walker next time he's facing a tricky left or right winger.
I think you're completely spot on, and there's a couple of things you touched on. I think in the big moments they bottle it. Like the big moments, their players, like Jesus misses chances, he can't finish. Did Sterling miss a sitter? I remember seeing screenshots all over Twitter. Did he miss it like a similar like it was against Lyon?
Two big chances missed from about the combined total of 6 yards.
Right, yeah. So it's just moments like that. I'm like, is that going to cost you again going forward? And the overthinking thing is spot on. It's spot on. If you even watch the documentary that they did a couple of years ago, he was thinking about the Liverpool game, Champions League game, when they were playing Everton. they were playing Everton, and they were thinking, he was talking to his coach staff about Liverpool, and he was talking, some of the stuff he was saying, I was like, no, that would clearly not happen. He was like, I think Salah would play striker. I think Firmino's going to play on the left. What the fuck are you on about? Like, why are you overthinking it? Like, as you said, the Foden thing. Foden's been their best player this season, in my opinion, and he's not started. So what's that all about? And like, the thing is, the stuff you said, I was like, it's so blatantly obvious, the stuff, and he still hasn't copped onto. I'm like, don't get me, okay, it sounds like I'm berating Pep. I love Pep. I think he's class, but it just confused me, some of the stuff he does. I was like, what? I don't know. I think it is the overthinking thing, and also De Bruyne as well. People obviously look. We all rate De Bruyne, but Luke, do you think he affects the way City were playing? Because apparently, I think if the record without him was better than it is with him this season.
If we're judging off yesterday's performance, I think people like to use sofa score ratings, and he apparently created 8 chances, which I don't even think City had in the entire game.
Yeah.
But I just sat up yesterday after he made a few passes and realized this guy is playing absolutely terribly. Like, I watch Bruno, and sometimes Bruno plays some erratic passes, and you're just like, what's he doing? But De Bruyne yesterday was just as bad, if not worse than Bruno, playing passes to nobody, giving it away sloppily. He just looked way off the pace, to be honest. I think City's record, it's interesting with De Bruyne. They're not as good with him in the team statistically. Now, I think they could be better with De Bruyne in the team if they actually brought in a potent goal scorer, because if you look at City's top goal scorers this season, I think Phil Foden is top with 11 goals. I mean, for a team that's running away with the Premier League, that is bang average at best. In fact, maybe even below average. Like, if you look at where their goals have been coming from, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Foden, Sterling, I mean, you wouldn't class these as consistent goal scorers. Like, I know Sterling, he gets a lot every season, but look at the amount of chances that gets created for him. I think we could be looking at a serious Champions League winning team if City brought in a Haaland, which I think they are looking to do, to be honest, or at least some sort of striker like that. There's been talk about Lukaku. I think we can't sit here and say City definitely can't win the Champions League after that performance because they've been so good this season. And mainly because if you look around Europe as well, I don't see that much competition there either. I don't think PSG are as good as people make them out to be. I think Barcelona are terrible. And that result, I don't think it was really a deserved 4-1 win, to be honest. And I think if you look at Bayern, I mean, they're only barely top of the Bundesliga this season. They were 2-0 down to Dortmund inside 9 minutes. Yeah, they came back, but defensively they look shaky. I think City's defence could be the reason why they might be favourites for the Champions League, but they need someone to step up and start scoring goals consistently. I don't know if that means they bring Aguero back in, or maybe find a way to get Jesus scoring some goals, but I don't think he has the capability to do it. So I think City will definitely be getting a striker in the summer, and I think that will make them serious Champions League contenders next season.
Yeah. Oh man, it just frustrates me, because I thought if we were at full strength, we would have given them a good fucking run for their money. I don't think the City team is as good as people have been saying anyway. Not at all. I actually think it's a shadow of Pep's former teams, like of 17, 18, 18, 19. The league is just so shit this year. So yeah, but obviously the game doesn't change anything. They're going to win the league. I still class them favourites for the Champions League, as you said. But we'll wait and see. You know, I think the Diaz kind of talk is a bit premature, to be honest with you. I don't think he's obviously class, but Martial put him on his backside a couple of times. You know, like, I just don't think there's a mistake in him, 100%. 100% a mistake in him. But yeah, moving on then anyway to Tottenham. Bale looks like he's in form. Kane is back. I think he's been back for ages, what I'm saying. And then they seem to be winning games now. Can you see them as a top 4 contender now, considering that Bale's now hitting form and there's goals outside of Kane's son?
Not really, to be honest. I think they won 3 out of 3 this week, but if you look at the fixtures, I think Tottenham should be beating all 3 of those teams comfortably, no matter what side they put out. Obviously, Bale hitting form is good because Son hasn't really been in the goals recently. It's interesting though because Bale still isn't getting 90 minutes. He's coming off after 65, 70 minutes. So clearly they feel he's still getting back up to speed. I think I'm not sure whether they'll sign him permanently just because of the wages he's on, but if he keeps with that form till the end of the season, you definitely would. I think people say Bale's hit form, but I also think it's because Reguilon has come back. I think Reguilon is a top quality fullback. Just the constant up and down the wing you get from him, he has a quality delivery. I think he played all the games this week, and it's no surprise that Tottenham got results in all of them. He just gives them something different from Ben Davis, who just doesn't have the quality, and he's quite shaky defensively when I watch him as well. He's started to give Davinson Sanchez a run of games. I don't think he's fulfilled his potential at all, to be honest. I think when he came in from Ajax and after his first season under Poch, I think we all thought this guy is going to be the next big thing, but he's just a very dodgy defender, and I think their defense is once again going to let them down towards the tail end of the season because Davinson Sanchez, I don't think is good enough. Dyer isn't good enough. Alderweireld is getting on now. Joe Rodon doesn't have the Premier League experience, so I think Mourinho. The good thing for Mourinho is he knows where to improve, and if he gets to next season, which I think he will now after that 3 on the bounce wins, I think he knows he needs to bring in a couple of centre backs. He might need another midfielder. Where he definitely still needs a right back after Doherty has let him down this season, if we're being honest. So I think there's positives for Tottenham because they know where they need to improve, and I think someone made a good point on Twitter yesterday. That Kane, Son, and Bale, if they're all in form, that's the best attack in the league by probably a good bit, I would say. Like Kane's world class, Son is world class, but he does have patches where he kind of goes missing, and no one's questioning Bale's quality. It's just whether he can consistently produce at this age now. So I think if they keep them all fit and then put a decent defense behind them next season, then they could be a serious outfit, especially with Mourinho.
Yeah, I said this like when people were questioning Mourinho, I was like, he look what he's dealing with. Like he's dealing with a very poor squad. Like I think people need to cut him some slack. I do think he needs to evolve a little bit, but you're seeing now with players hitting form, like the team's obviously winning games, and I think people are very quick just to call for managers' heads in general, but especially Mourinho's head. I was like, look what he's dealing with. Like as you said, Matt Doherty awful, like really poor centre backs this season. Reguilon wasn't fit. There was no one supporting Kane and Son in terms of output, and then that's all kind of changed. They look a better outfit, and yeah, like you said, if you can bring a few players in key positions, they are a serious outfit, 100%. Luke, just before we move on to Arsenal, with Tottenham now, what do you think is the realistic kind of goal for them going for the rest of the season in terms of the league? Actually, all competition because they're still in the Europa League, of course, and the League Cup final. What do you think is realistic?
I think Mourinho will definitely be targeting the top 4 because I think it's still within reach for them. I don't think they'll get it, but I think that's what they have to be targeting. I think Mourinho will. I think he'll want to win one of the Europa League or the Cup. So I think he'll go for both as well. So I could see Spurs maybe dropping off a bit in the league towards the end when Mourinho actually focuses on one competition because he's done that in the past with United. He's focused on Europa League and he's got the job done. But I don't think Spurs are at the level required to win the Europa League. I think United are a better team than him. Whether that means he can pull off a masterclass and somehow knock us out, or if we get knocked out by a lesser team, which is also likely, then I think Spurs might be favourites, one of the favourites for the Europa League. I'm happy it took them 26 league games to find out that Bale was actually still a good player, because otherwise they could be a bit higher up the table.
Yeah.
And I think Charlie made the point, he knows where they need to improve, but he knew that last season as well. He brought in Roden and he brought in Doherty, and they haven't been good enough. So in the summer, they do need to get the recruitment spot on. Otherwise, they'll be in the same place as they were this season, which isn't where Spurs want to be, I assume. You can say that though, but like he didn't. If you ask for a centre back, you don't want some 10 million guy from the Championship. You want someone like Squinner, who they were targeting according to Romano, and he wasn't gotten. Obviously Tottenham built a new stadium, so they won't have massive funds considering they're not getting income from stadium tickets now either. But I think, like, if you're saying Mourinho should be doing better with, like, even Roy Keane said it, Matt Doherty, come on, man. What age is he? He's like 29. He's never actually proven himself as a good right back. He was just a right mid getting covered by Bolly the entire time for Wolves. And then Joe Roden. Like,
Joe Roden would do better.
He's a talent, apparently. I'd never heard of him, to be honest. He's a talent, but is he going to come in and be the answer to Tottenham's question? No. So I think it's unfair for Mourinho that he clearly asked for these two positions, but the people that were bought for him they weren't up to scratch.
Yeah. I think if you looked at Tottenham's like targets throughout last summer, I was thinking like, so obviously they got Højbjerg, the Skriniar, like all the targets of like they're perfect Mourinho players, very talented, young. I was like, they can get these in, like they could be serious, and they didn't get them in. You're seeing what's happened, and I think people. I'm obviously a huge fan of Mourinho. I've said it multiple times. I think he's fantastic. I still think he's a top manager. If he can get the backing, he could do something special with Tottenham. 100%, 110%. So yeah, I think moving on to their North London rivals. So Arsenal, of course, it's common knowledge that the refs are against them. The FA hates them, and it's not because they have average players, but it's because the FA is against them. So yeah, that's really it. Like they're 10th now because of the FA. That's it. Don't really have much to add. And they're obviously correct in that. Seriously though, Arsenal looked like they were Arsenal looked better than they were at the start of the season. 100%. But again, individual errors. Like we can talk about the Burnley one. What the fuck was Xhaka doing? And I rate Xhaka. I think he's good. It's just he just has that bozo gene in him. Like he always seems to make an error eventually. And Arsenal fans are saying it like you don't know when it's coming, but it is coming. It's inevitable. Do you know what I mean? So I think individual errors has cost them the season a lot. I do think ref decisions, to be fair to them, have cost them, but I think you're looking at players that have just constantly being found out that they aren't good enough, and that's why they've been left in the league. Saying that, they win the game in hand, they're 2 points behind us, so I better keep quiet. Yeah, Arsenal, it's just kind of like what you expected. Like if you look at their squad, it's just fair enough where they are this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many years we've been saying it for that Arsenal need defenders, but they don't seem to ever get it right. I mean, when we say you need a defender, we don't mean David Luiz for 4 million or Pablo Mari for 8 million. We mean an actual centre back. Now I know they brought in Gabriel and he looked good at the start, but he seems to have just gone to shit, and I don't know why. But he's not playing at the moment. I think Tierney was a good buy. I think they need another centre back. They need a right back. They probably need another forward player. People were telling me, like, I feel sorry for Arteta because he clearly has no money to play with.
Yeah.
So he has to get the best out of the players he has. And I think Arsenal actually played well against Burnley, but he's just being let down by moments of complete idiocy. I mean, people were blaming Leno, but I'm not having that. That's a simple pass for Xhaka. I mean, if you look at teams like Liverpool, United, and City, they're able to play out like that. Like their goalie would be playing passes like that. Xhaka has at least 20 yards to put that ball into, and he just takes the touch for no reason. But there's still no excuse to not get that pass completed. Like it's a terrible error.
I'd make that pass.
Yeah, it's a simple pass, but I think it's at least Aubameyang has started scoring again. I think Arsenal missed a lot of chances against Burnley. I think they at least showed they're better than Burnley, so that's a positive for them. They've they've escaped relegation for another season. So I think next season they should be looking at maybe targeting the top four, but the Europa League first and foremost, because but they're not going to get anywhere without some serious investment, because that's what
Yeah,
every other team are doing. They're going to improve. Even the likes of Everton and Leicester are improving because of their investment, and Arsenal are falling behind due to the lack of money. They seem to be scraping around the barrel every summer trying to get 40 million out for one player and think that's enough. They need to be doing that for two or three players.
yeah. I think the only like the Xhaka thing. Don't get me wrong, I think Xhaka has been, and he was playing well up to that point, and I think he's really improved as a player. But I think he's always going to have that in him. And at 28, 29 years of age, he's not going to cut it if Arsenal want to get back up to where they want it to be. I think he won't cut it if they want to be back to where they want to be. I think Party's good enough, of course. But yeah, as you said, they need investment 100%, and I think where they are now was just fair. Like you can't really, I don't think an Arsenal fan can complain about where they are this season. So yeah, I think going forward for Arsenal now, they obviously need investment. There's like 10 games left. They can target the Europa League spots. Won't be surprised if they can get finish ahead of us. I think for me, they need to back Arteta now, because I think Arteta is the right man. He's shown that. And if he can win another trophy, that'll just strengthen his case to be backed. So yeah, that's Arsenal. I think it's fair where they are. Need to back Arteta, and they'll be on their way back up the table next season. So lastly, Chelsea sacked Lampard, brought Tuchel in, doing extremely well. Luke, do you think that was just a masterstroke to bring Tuchel in, and do you see them getting top four now?
I mean, you can say it's a masterstroke, but if you just look at the quality of squad Chelsea have, then it was clear to see that Lampard wasn't getting the best out of them. So he had to go and someone else had to come in. And I think it's worked out. But that's what happens when you bring in a quality manager and add them to quality players. You get a quality team most of the time. So I think it was a smart decision by Chelsea. They've been on a great run of form. I think they still don't look very threatening in attack. It seems quite slow and laboured build up. But I think they're also going to be in the market for a striker this summer. So I think Chelsea have a decent run of fixtures coming up. I can see them extending their unbeaten streak. Tuchel's doing a good job with them at the moment. I think they'll get in the top four at the end of the season. So it looked like Chelsea weren't getting anywhere near it under Lampard. So you'd have to say it was a good decision from Chelsea's board to bring in Tuchel.
Yeah, I think Lampard's just not a quality manager. He's not like Arteta. Like his playing days as well, he's not like Gerrard at all, and just not as good in both aspects. Obviously Gerrard won a league title. I don't know if you knew. I'm for any Irish people come at me, I don't give a fuck. Okay, I don't care. I'm a Rangers fan. Do something about it. Anyway, yeah, he's just. I think I like Tuchel a lot. I think he was good at PSG. I think he just came up against a sensational Bayern team. He would have won the Champions League. Like he just came up against arguably one of the best teams in recent history. I do rate him as a manager. 100%. He seems to be getting the best of the players. I think top four is realistic for them. The Champions League as well. Like that was a big win against Atletico. Big win. If they can close that out, then they're in the quarterfinals. And I'm not saying they're going to win it, but like Luke said, I think was it. There's not that many around that they'd be afraid of. You know what I mean? In terms of competition, like Bayern don't look as good. So you never know, of course. I think things are really looking up for Tuchel on Chelsea, and I'm excited to see what they do in the summer, because obviously they've endless amounts of money. So I'm excited who they bring in, and most important who they get rid of. I wonder if Kante was brilliant against us. I wonder if he's still in Tuchel's plans. And yeah, I think just for Chelsea, it's more kind of like we have to wait and see what happens with them. I think they will get top four, like you said, of course, definitely. And Charlie, just before we finished up, with Chelsea and Tuchel going forward. Do you think now if they can add a couple more in the summer, you can see them going on fighting for a title?
I think I'm not really sure, to be honest. So
Yeah.
It depends on who they bring in. Like if they get Haaland, which I don't like, very unlikely, but they're apparently in from. I don't think Haaland's
Haaland's
considering
a big
anyone
club.
other
Haaland
than
wants a big club.
yeah.
They're
I
not
don't
big
know.
club.
I'd say Haaland's probably debating whether to join Barca, Real, or City at this moment in time. I don't think anyone else really are in the position to offer him trophies. Chelsea, I still think they need a centre back. I know the back three they've been solid, but I think like Azpilicueta's getting on. Who else? Thiago Silva, like he's quite old as well. They're going to need. It seems like every single top six club apart from City need a centre back. So that just shows you the lack of quality in that position over recent years. There's going to be competition in this transfer window like never before because there doesn't seem to be much players available. Like if you think about it, what centre backs, world class centre backs are there available to sign? Koulibaly, but then no one seems to want him, and I don't think he's world class anymore. So I think he's missed his chance. He should have forced through a move seasons ago. Strikers, Haaland is probably wanted by every team in the world. If you're looking past him, who else is there? You're probably looking at Lautaro, Andre Silva. Maybe he's had one good season, but the season before that he was dreadful, so he would still be a gamble. And you can see why these teams they're just relying on 35-year-old strikers like Cavani. In our case, I know he's not quite 35 yet, but bringing in these washed players like Ibrahimovic, he's 37 now or something. He's being relied on by one of the best teams in the world in Milan, or they're not one of the best, but like they're one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Yeah.
I think the team everyone will be targeting seems to be Inter Milan. Their financial situation isn't good because they haven't been able to pay United, I think, 50 million of the Lukaku money. So
Hakimi as well. They haven't paid the Hakimi money.
They're going to have to make sales. I think obviously Hakimi, Lukaku, Lautaro, Barella, Skriniar, what's Bastoni. These players will. I'd say if you put in a bid, you could get them at a decent price. So I think there's going to be a lot of competition in this transfer window, and I think if Chelsea can get it right, then they definitely have the manager that can challenge for league titles because he clearly knows what he's doing. He's implemented his tactics already. But if they have a window like they did this summer, Havertz, he doesn't seem to be in his plans at all. I mean, he hasn't. I don't think he started the first game and hasn't started since. Werner, obviously, if he picks up form, people will say he's a good signing. So that's fair enough. Thiago Silva, he's going to be gone by the end of next season, I say. And then did they buy anyone else? Chilwell, he has. I mean, I think he prefers Alonso, to be honest. So
yeah, he does.
They need to get it right in the window, and then if they do, then sure they can challenge for the league. But I don't think they'll be able to win it with teams like City in the league already.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of like. I think it's just back before finishing in relation to Liverpool, because we don't need as many players as other teams do, and I think we have some. And I think we've added the right players. We'll be able to challenge. I think that you just said it right. I think there's far more demand than there is supply for world class players, and that's why thinking about it now, I'm kind of rethinking the whole like sell Mane sort of thing. Like I'd only sell him anyway if we got Mbappe, but we won't get him because we're not getting top four. So, yeah, I think you're right. There's not a lot of supply for the best players. I think a lot of teams will struggle. I think that's why City will be difficult to stop again because they're one player away from dominating world football. They're striker away from dominating world football. which is an issue. I hope Haaland doesn't go to City because I think that's what I just in terms of like the romance of football, that's the last thing I want. I don't even think going to Liverpool makes much sense for him. I'd love him there at Liverpool, but if he goes to fucking Man City, like fuck, man, like you know what I mean. It just won't be a good look for the Premier League at all, and City will look unstoppable. But yeah, 10 games to go. Hopefully Liverpool can win one, and yeah, thanks again for watching. We've been going for like nearly an hour, so going for a long time. It should be an interesting end of the season in all competitions. Hopefully we can do something we won't. But same with United. I think all the big six teams are in for a chance of winning something, aren't they? Let me think. Yeah, they are. They are. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Luke and Charlie put it into the description. Follow us all on Twitter, and yeah, see you next week.
For clickbait purposes, the Klopp in or out.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. See you.